update on top accolade news. The headlines. Indonesia's new journalist rule sparks fears of press censorship. Beijing pushes back on Trump tariffs. Vance hints at U.S.-UK trade deal. El Salvador refuses to return man wrongfully deported by U.S. In politics, Indonesia's new journalist rule sparks fears of press censorship. In Indonesia, a new rule requiring foreign journalists to obtain police certification before reporting has raised alarm among human rights and press freedom groups. The regulation, introduced in March, is being framed by officials as a safety measure, but critics warn it could be used to censor or intimidate the press. Under the rule, police have broad authority to approve or deny certification, which some see as an attempt to control international media coverage in sensitive areas. The move adds to fears of democratic backsliding under this leadership. Shifting focus to economy, Beijing pushes back on Trump tariff. As tensions escalate in the U.S. China trade war, Beijing is striking a defiant tone, vowing to shake hands, not fists, while President Xi Jinping deepens economic ties across Southeast Asia. China's foreign ministry slammed U.S. tariff as protectionist while retaliating with its own steep duties. The World Trade Organization warns that this tit-for-tat could slash trade flows by up to 80%. Meanwhile, Xi signed key supply chain deals in Vietnam and is expanding outreach to Malaysia and Cambodia as China promotes itself as a champion of global cooperation amid growing economic fragmentation. Still in economy, Vance hints at U.S.-UK trade deal. U.S. Vice President JD Vance says a trade deal with the UK is within reach, highlighted a much more reciprocal relationship compared to other European nations. His remark comes just days after President Trump imposed sweeping 10% tariff on import from countries like the UK and France, triggering massive market volatility. Vance backed the tariff as a long-term strategy and confirmed active talks with Keir Starmer's government. He also addressed America's evolving stance on European security and the Ukraine war, calling for a better understanding of Russia's strategic red lines to end the conflict. Moving to international relations, El Salvador refuses to return man wrongfully deported by U.S. A diplomatic standoff is unfolding after El Salvador refused to return Kilmer Abrego Gracia, a man the Trump administration deported by mistake. Now held in one of the world's most controversial mega prisons, Abrego Gracia is a center of a growing alliance between President Trump and Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele, who is accepting U.S. deportees under a lucrative deal. Despite the Supreme Court ruling, the administration said it's powerless to bring him back without El Salvador's cooperation. Critics warn this partnership is eroding due process and enabling human rights abuses in the name of immigration enforcement. You are watching the Global News Update on Top Accolade News. Do stay with us. Still to come. Thanks for staying with us. In education, Harvard loses $2.2 billion in federal funding. Tensions between the Trump administration and elite universities escalated today as Harvard University had over $2 billion in federal funding frozen after rejecting White House demands to overhaul its campus policies. The administration sought sweeping reforms in the name of fighting anti-Semitism, but Harvard's president said the proposal threatened academic freedom and violated constitutional rights. The freeze come amid a broader federal crackdown on universities and campus protests, with several student activists recently detained by immigration authorities. Harvard has filed a lawsuit calling the administration's actions politically motivated and unconstitutional. In conflict, Trump under fire after calling Russian missile strike on Sumy a mistake. U.S. President Donald Trump has sparked controversy after characterizing Russia's deadly missile strike on Sumy, Ukraine, which killed dozens, as a mistake. despite mounting evidence suggesting otherwise. The comment came amid growing frustration with the White House's stale diplomatic efforts, as multiple peace tracks appeared to be buying Russia time while offering Ukraine little security. As Moscow intensifies its offensive and Ukraine braces for a brutal summer, critics warn that the Trump administration's fragmented diplomacy may be embedding the Kremlin rather than containing it. In entertainment, Katy Perry joins historic all-female Blue Origin space flight. Pop star Katy Perry and 5 other women made history as they returned safely from a Blue Origin space flight, marking the first all-female crew to reach space in decades. The 11-minute journey aboard Jeff Bezos' New Shepard rocket offered a few moments of weightlessness and left the women emotional and inspired, but also stirred debate. While supporters hailed it as a milestone for women in space, critics slammed it as a tone-deaf display of celebrity privilege, questioning the environmental impact and exclusivity of commercial space tourism. Now in sports, South Africa pulls out of future Rugby World Cup bids. World Rugby is facing a mounting crisis as major unions like South Africa and New Zealand back away from hosting future Rugby World Cups due to financial strain and infrastructure challenges. Despite record-breaking revenues, key unions said the tournament leaves them with steep deficits and little return. South Africa has ruled out bidding for 2035 or 2039, citing economic hardship, while New Zealand and Ireland also face hurdles. Meanwhile, the U.S. prepares to host it 2031, and eyes are turning towards Japan and Europe and possibly even the Middle East for future editions. With frustration rising, World Rugby is under pressure to reimagine how its flagship event can remain financially viable for the game's biggest stakeholders. That concludes our global news updates for today. Stay tuned for more global news and developments. Thanks for joining us. I am Ojoarumi Okocha. Connect and engage with us on all our social media handles. Do have a wonderful day.